Welcome back to Athlete's Pursuit. This is the first episode of 2026, season 2, and I'm going to kick it off today with the launch of our new program, 12 Weeks to Unleash. So excited for this release, man. The first 12 Weeks to Jacked was met with a pretty insane response. To see you guys grab a hold in this program and the stories that have come out from that, the engagement, the support has been incredible to see. So I was really excited that we got to follow it up and just keep raising the game, man. We're going to dive into that today. I want to share with you a little bit more about the program itself. I want to talk about you guys in the community and just the response of 12 Weeks to Jacked. And then I want to get into some of the background of how we came to this method, about picking 12 Weeks to Unleash and the method that we use behind it, how we wanted to design this program and deliver to you guys. And I want to set you guys up for success. So how to attack the program, how to look at it, some of the philosophy behind it, a little bit of a deeper understanding of the methods that we're going to be using, so that when you attack it, you can really go full out, really give it everything that you got, and really know what we're trying to achieve, as we get into it. So much has happened since 12 Weeks to Jacked came out. It's been almost a year. The response has been insane. I mean, the community support has been incredible. The stories coming out of it have really, really stuck with me. It's been one of the most incredible things that I've honestly experienced as a coach, to see the support and the you guys take to coaching. You guys have been listening, you're learning, you've been accepting these challenges and really fighting and overcoming a lot of things. And I think that's some of the stuff that I'm most proud of. Is there's always there's physical results that come from a program like this. Like with 12 Weeks to Jacked, I've been seeing a lot of your results and the changes that you've had physically, whether it be losing weight, gaining muscle, or hitting different PRs, having some type of performance results, or getting control in your training again. Those things are incredible to see. But the thing that have really stuck with me is more the stories about overcoming, who you guys have become as a result of this type of a program, and the change in mindset, the change in approach, the finding a belief in yourself again, developing that confidence and overcoming and these battles that we experience in life. That's really where I come from as a coach. That's where training has meant so much to me, is how can I use it as a way to align with my growth as a human? Because that's always what it's meant. It's always been what training is to me, is that as I'm navigating life, training was this place that gave me structure, gave me a place to work on myself. And so I always aligned, my growth and the season that I was going through in life with my training. It gave me a place to work on myself. And, I think that really resonated with a lot of you guys. And, some of the stories, things I would hear were just, people are really going through stuff, man, and really think about this. I mean, life is tough. Like, it's going to throw things at us. And, I'm hearing things about, battling depression or anxiety, or a loss of a family member, stresses at work, in life in general, health issues, maybe a lack of confidence or some uncertainty, and things like even PTSD, alcoholism, like these different things that we all battle, whatever your challenge is. And hearing about how this gave you a place to work on yourself, gave you that structure, gave you that outlet, and you turned something that could be difficult, a challenge, and you turned it into something to better yourself. And I'm always going to be here for that, and I think we need to applaud that. So to you guys, it's incredible to see. I want to continue that support. I think the tonal community we're doing really an exceptional job of creating a community that's very supportive of each other. You guys are lifting each other up. You're sharing your wins. You're picking people up when they're down. We're really winning together, and I think that's a very special thing. So we're going to continue that, and that's what this is all about. Now, going into 12 Weeks to Unleash, let's talk a little bit more about the program itself today and getting you ready to go. I want to give you some background and some context of where this even came to begin. So, I always collaborate on these types of programs with Jenna Moore, from Tonal. She is a programming expert. I mean, I love working with her. I've learned a lot from her through the years. We've done a lot of work together. we brainstorm on things like this. We wanted it to be a little bit different. So you understand 12 Weeks of Jacked had this framework that was obviously 3 months. I love the format where we can go a little bit deeper into these programs, give you time to settle into a style, feel what that's like to have this progressive training method, these small tweaks into the programming week to week and month to month, so you can see how these ramp up and get you ready. Gives you time to acclimate, to kind of build a skill, to get better at these movements and sequences. So I love that format, but we wanted this to be very different from 12 Weeks of Jacked. So this is not a copy paste. This, if anything, it's a continuation. It's an elevation. We've done that, so let's build on that and let's take this to another place. So where this came from kind of was a personal story. I was myself training a specific way at that point for at least maybe 2, maybe 3 years, where if you guys know, so I came on to Tonal, let's say about 4 years ago. When I first got there, I was very performance heavy. We were doing a lot of, strength compound movements, a lot of high volume training was in my life. And I wanted to switch it up. So I got into hypertrophy for about 2 years. I was in this space where I was like, I want to change up what I'm doing. So for about 2 years, I was just focused on, building muscle and lifting more like a bodybuilder. I mean, that was really the format that I was following. And as a coach, I wanted to do that too, to just really immerse myself into a different style, because that's where I coach from. I want to get into the style, get immersed within it, feel it, know it intimately, know it deeply, so that I can communicate that better to you guys when I'm teaching these classes. We can, go through kind of the ups and downs and the things you got to be paying attention to keep your focus and keep moving, the things that are important in a certain style when you're start trying to get a certain result. So I was training this way for a long time, and I had noticed a few things. I had put on size. I'd gotten bigger. I'd been happy with, how I felt like I was developing, but there was a cost to that too. And there is a cost to this stuff. As you immerse yourself a little bit deeper, you're going to get, those types of results that yield to like a hypertrophy style program. But there's also a cost. Like my speed went down, felt like I couldn't jump as much. I didn't feel as explosive. Power was going down a little bit. My conditioning endurance took a hit. So those were the costs. And I started to feel a little bit like heavy, a little bit just laggy, man. I just didn't really like it. I felt a little bit slower, like I lost a step. And so Jenna brought this to me, called the Juggernaut method. And it's a strength-based method that we'll talk a little bit, we'll obviously dive into more, but the whole idea was you focus on compound lifts to develop strength, put on muscle, put on size, while building power and improving performance, all in the same method. So didn't know much about it. I went into the research and wanted to get into it. So I put myself through a 16-week cycle doing what we're about to do. So what I can tell you is that going through this cycle, it worked pretty quickly. I felt like I was getting a pop back after the first month in, maybe going into month 2. So what I started to notice is, power for me was starting to go down, and that just started to jump right back up. It's just one of those things that we gotta understand. It's kind of a mentality shift. I think sometimes we think, as I'm getting older, I lose these abilities. But it's really, we're going to get older. We're going to have age happen, but we can also counteract it with our training. We can put different structures in place and programs in place so that we can counteract these things and even get to a point where we're building upon them. And that was something that I just started to notice. I was getting speed back, power back, jumps were more explosive. And then we threw in the conjugate method, which we're going to talk about too, to get a little bit more bar speed up. And man, I felt great by the end of this 16-week cycle. I felt like I was getting my step back, felt like my conditioning had improved at the same time. Body wasn't achy, got full mobility back, felt like I was moving like I was in my 20s again, to be honest with you. I felt very light on my feet, agile, hostile, all that good stuff, dude. We were moving. So I've been adopting this program and this structure into my own training now too. And that's really where this came from, was how do we now turn this into a tonal program? So, we adapted it into this 3-month format. And when I was going through this, I was thinking about what it really meant to me, like the philosophy behind some of the training. because I wanted to have a different mindset going into this, even for myself. It was a milestone year for me. Like, I just turned 40 this year, which you're going to hear me talk about in the program pretty often. But I hit this mark, man, and I was starting to reflect on some things. And I'm like, age does creep into a sense of, I feel like I got to make some changes into my training, but what does that mean? I didn't want it to mean, I felt there was this battle, like, as you're approaching, does it mean that I have to change my training? I can't do the same things that I was doing before? Or does it mean that I have to refine my approach and maybe get a little bit more focused and smarter, more intentional with my training to be able to do the things that I want to do? And so, I think there's this journey that we go on with training. And I have certainly gone through this evolution myself, that in my 20s, even like early 30s, I felt like I was really just about really hammering down, like aggressive training, which you guys know that I love. I love to throw down for real. But every workout that I was doing back then was like truly like a beatdown. I was really getting after it. And at some point, I think that there's a benefit to that where you develop like a mental toughness. I think you get, you see what your body is capable of. You understand its limits. You kind of redefine what is difficult, what you think is failure, what your body can do. And having that understanding, I think, is incredibly beneficial. So there's a purpose to that, in my opinion. But, I'm recognizing that I'm hitting this point of, energy is not the exact same. I got to be more intentional with where I'm putting my energy and my time. I don't have the same amount of time. I'm not dedicating the same amount of time. I want to be more efficient with how I'm moving. So how can I pick a focus in a program, in a program design that's going to allow me to perform at a high level, that's going to allow me to move very well, keep and build my athleticism, keep and build strength, keep and build power. Like, I just didn't want to maintain. I wanted to also improve upon. And how do we do that? So I was looking at this as a way to develop mastery within movement. Because you come to realize we're going to hit a lot of these compound lifts and movements that we've done so many times. And from a coach's perspective, results really aren't coming from variations all the time. They're coming from depth of our work, of how well we can move, how well we can execute these lifts. So when we have this program written down, I'm thinking to myself, are we hitting full range of motion within these reps? Do I have access to full range of motion? Do I have an ability to move through an entire full range of motion squat or in my bench press? Does it feel good when I'm executing the movement? Can we attack weaknesses within, off-tonal movements or mobility type training so that I can get better at these compound lifts? And so it became, more of a refinement process. And can I create depth within my work? And that's kind of the challenge going into this program, is thinking about how to move towards mastery with these. So when I was coaching this, I very much came in with the mentality that I wanted to advance the language that we were using and the approach that we were taking. Like, I set you up from the jump, believing and having an understanding that we have been working together for some time, that we've been working on form, that we've been working on the basics, that we've been last 12-week program. And so, I wanted to coach you guys the same way that I would coach myself, or that I would coach a pro athlete, someone that's been doing this for a while, because it's not just the sequences that change. It's more the execution. It's more the attention to detail. It's how well we do things and the focus that we can put into things. I remember watching like Christian McCaffrey do some work in his off season and the training protocols that he follows, and the intensity that he brings to every single movement that he's doing is just exceptional. And that's the difference between a pro and someone that's, just kind of doing this recreationally. And my logic is, if we're in here spending the time and we've been doing this for years, and in my mind, for myself as well, if this is a routine that I'm going to be following for a very long time for the rest of my life, well, then we should find some depth within the work. We should be advancing not just the movements of the sequences to be harder, but we should also be developing a deeper understanding to be able to do these things better, to be able to do this better for the long term. Like, what does that mean? What does it mean to get better? How do I get better at these compound lifts? That's what we're going to be diving into, in this program. So, everything's becomes more methodical. Like it's easier to have an intensity going into like a bench press or a deadlift because you're like, this is my big lift, so I'm going to put an intensity into this. But I'm like, can you carry that same intensity and focus into a Copenhagen plank? Can you carry that into just like a foam roller movement? Can you carry that into a reach and rotate opener? Can you carry that into world's greatest stretch? I mean, like these mobility movements and the smaller things that we're going to do add up to these big levers. And so the challenge is within that. So I see this as, can we change the mindset of we're just training to survive a workout into training to develop mastery and seeing training as a practice, that you're getting better in here, that you're paying attention to the smaller details. Like at some point we get to a spot where we're like, I've been doing this for a while. I know the basic movements. I know what I'm trying to do with these movements. I feel comfortable within them, but can I elevate this into the smallest of ways? It's this refinement process where like, even think about how a pro athlete, like I think about Josh Allen, like I just saw this on Hard Knocks where he was in the off season just refining his throwing mechanics. And I'm like, this dude's been throwing a football his entire life. Like he knows how to throw a football, but he's working on the smallest of details. Doesn't mean he's reinventing his entire throwing motion, but he's now building upon what he has. And then he's paying attention to these small levers to create an advantage. And that's the mentality that I want you guys carrying into this as we go. So now let's get into the overview itself. Let's talk a little bit about the methods that we're going to use and just a high level kind of structure that we're going to be breaking down. So 12 weeks of training, that's what we got ahead of us. The focus on this one is going to be predominantly strength and performance. So going into this, it is different from, say, hypertrophy, and you're going to see that in this too, where strength, this is one I want you to remember this. Strength is measured by force production. Force is mass times acceleration. That's all that it is. So mass, how much weight do you have on the bar? Acceleration, how fast do you move it? That's your ability to create force. We are going to be improving upon that. So the methods that we're going to be using to do that are the Juggernaut method, and then finishing out in month 3 with the Conjugate method. That's where we're going to be developing more speed. So months 1 and 2, we're going to be laying the foundations for strength, getting stronger and more under control, developing access. And then month 3, we turn that strength into an element of performance, working on bar speed and velocity. So by the end of this, you will have an ability to move the weight with exceptional control and depth and range of motion than hopefully you have ever had, and moving the heaviest weight you've ever had and making it feel lighter somehow because you're able to move this faster, and you have the support around you that we are going to be building in this program to be able to move this weight with exceptional control. So it's going to feel different when you go back to these compounds. And with month 3, you're going to feel like you have so much speed in your lifts. And that feels incredible. So by the end of this program, the idea in my mind was to get you ready to do whatever you need to do. That in any program, if you go back to revisit one, you repeat some, that you should see the depth of your work improve. That when you go in and repeat a program, that it's not just about getting through a program anymore. It's how well can I do it with every single rep? Can I pull a little bit more, create more power output, more range of motion, all those good things. So into this a little bit more. Months 1 to 2 is the Juggernaut method. That's the main focus. The Juggernaut method is a major focus on compound lifts. So think about it is that each day you're going to be setting yourself up with the main lift of that day. You're going to have your compound. So your front squat, your deadlift, your bench press, your overhead press are going to be predominantly our main focus. After that, you're going to have your accessory work, which is really just breaking down the smaller movements that support that big movement, that big compound lift. So everything we do after that is going to be allowing us to get better at that compound as we move. Now, what makes Juggernaut a cool method to work through is that each week is going to be a different week of periodization. So we start with week 1, it's accumulation. So these are those phases that we talk about. Like in 12 weeks to Jack, I think we're moving through these phases each month. Now you're going to feel them each week within them. So in that first month, You go week 1 is an accumulation phase. Week 2 is going to be an intensification phase. Week 3 is going to be realization. And then week 4 goes into a deload. So what you're experiencing here is that you drive more volume in week 1. You're going to move more weight in week 2. And in week 3, you're going to lift the heaviest that you have. We're going to go, that's going to be like a PR week, and you're going to be prepared for it. And then week 4, you scale back. So we're going to scale back the intensity. You're going to recover. We're still going to be lifting, but we're going to be doing more of a hypertrophy-focused. So that's going to be a much slower lift. So when you get into your deload phase, you're going to hear me talk a lot about how to change the tempos of your lift. And this is where the details are going to be massively important, that I'm not trying to push my best weight. I'm trying to get good control and stretch and lengthen the muscle and much more focus on isolation. So deload is going to feel more like a bodybuilding type phase. We're going to slow things down a lot. And so you're going to have to take that intensity into the details when you get into the deload. If you do too much during the deload and you do not recover and fatigue continues to creep in, month 2 is not going to be a lot of fun. You've got to take these times where you like scale back so that you can ramp up. This is the difference. This is what I'm talking about when we go into mastery, is that you got to understand that what we are doing at this stage is not just throttling down. Everything's this build up and this ramp up. So with Juggernaut, it's volume, intensification, while still scaling back. You're not doing your max weight, then realization, then we're going to be hammering down. Month 2, we repeat, but a different structure. So month 2, we're still going to do Juggernaut, and you're going to be familiar with the compound movements. It's going to feel very similar, but it's going to be a slightly different structure to the workout. We're going to add a couple more movements to the sequencing, some different sequencing, but it's still going to feel very familiar. You're keeping it within line so that you have an ability to improve upon these things. So think of training as a skill here. Think about how you're building upon this stuff. And by week 3 of month 2, that should be the best weight that you've lifted, hopefully on tonal. I hope that's some of your best weight that you've pushed. I mean, it's going to be kind of full out right there. And that week 3 realization will work up to a drop set on our compound lift. So we'll be pushing pretty hard there. And then we're going to go back into deload. All of this is going to set you up for month 3. So you got to see month 1 and month 2 as this build up and this intentional setup to prepare you for month 3. If we don't get month 1 and month 2 right, and we don't have our form right, then month 3 is not going to go as well as it could. Month 3 is going to be a lot faster. It's going to be much more performance driven. The conjugate method is one of my favorite methods to use when we're talking about developing speed, strength, and performance, because you're going to be lifting weights to improve speed and develop power output. And we've used this method before. We used it in 12 weeks to jacked for a couple weeks. We're going to do it different here. We're going to take the template, but we're going to change what we're going to do. I've also used this in Power Build 1 and 2, but again, we're going to do it different. In Power Build 1 and 2, we use like plyometrics to develop speed. In this, we're going to do it differently all through lifting. So with the conjugate method, you have 4 weeks that you're going to be going through a 4-day split here too. You have 2 max effort days and then 2 dynamic effort days. So what you're doing, remember that strength is developed by force, right? So this is where we turn it into speed so that I can lift heavy and then move the weight fast, right? Max effort, lift heavy, dynamic effort, move fast. So on your max effort days, it's going to feel maybe slower, but you're going to be lifting much heavier. That's I just want you to lift heavy day. We're not doing anything fancy, just lift good weight. Dynamic effort day, we are going to get a little fancy. We're going to have some fun with this, man. We're going to turn it into utility, and we're going to introduce something, a different lifting technique called basically speed training on those first rounds. I'm going to break that down of what that means, but be ready for that. It is going to be a beautiful way to train. Basically, you can go like a bench press. We can do, we're going to do a 5x5 in this. It turns out to be 10 sets of 5 reps with 15 seconds of rest in between. So it's very quick and you're ready to go. So those 5 reps have to be powerful as we pull through. So now let's get into this phase by phase, and I'll go a little deeper of what you are trying to do here. Phase 1 of 12 weeks to unleash. This is foundation and skill. I want you to think about this just like we said about recalibrating like a swing. This is the base. So you stay patient within this. This is like the ramp up period. You're probably going to face some sequences that you're not good at, maybe some movements that you're not great at, some movements that you don't enjoy. I'm going to tell you straight up that we do Copenhagen's a lot here, and I don't like them either, but they're incredible at what they do, and they're going to help you tremendously, especially when I'm thinking about hip mobility and control through my squats and my deadlifts and just feeling great in my lower body, man. And that leads to things like even back pain. I don't want it. This is the stuff we're going to take care of it here. So believe me when I tell you that if you have tightness within your hips or your lower body, man, this is going to help you out tremendously. If you don't feel great doing certain movements early, please stay with it. Remember that phase 1, strip the ego, go in humble with this stuff, and be coachable and pay attention to the details. The reason why we're doing this and we're having repetition is so that you have a chance to get better at these things. You're going to see me too going through the Copenhagen where I'm like, I'm not great. Like one side I remember was a little bit more of a weak link. But that was the whole point. It was like, good, it's exposed, so I can hammer this, man. Stay patient with it and build it. And by the time we got into month 2, I'm like, man, I feel great with this. Like you see like I'm doing this stuff with you. So I'm seeing the improvements too, even within myself and the range of motion happening. So the biggest thing you got to do here, this is where people get hung up, is if you're not good on something on week 1, don't get in your head and go, I'm not good at this. This is too hard, or this isn't for me. We don't need that, man. We're past that. I need you to recognize these moments and just go, okay, I'm going to get better at this. I'm glad we found this weakness out. Now I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more weeks to get better at this. Pretty cool. Because like, why do you have to be great at it today? I'm training to develop the skill, not automatically developing the skill. Come on. So be patient with yourself and go into this ready to work. And we're going to improve over time. And that's how you should always see training. It's always a ramp up. I'm not great at this yet, but I got a plan that's going to get me there. I got a process that's going to get me there. So if I just keep my head down, if I do this work as best as I can, each week I'm going to get a little bit better over time. Just a little bit. That's all you got to worry about. Just small improvements over time, and they're going to add up to massive, massive increases that you're going to see. So the difficulty here is not going to be in volume. It's not going to be in beating you down. That's not the goal here. Again, the evolution is I'm not trying to just get you tired. I'm trying to get us better. So it's going to be in the details. It's going to be in the intensity, into your focus within this is going to be the big thing. So once we get done with this first round, you're going to be getting familiar with Juggernaut. Then we go into the deload, which will be that hypertrophy style of training. Okay, so that'll be more bodybuilder type of training. So when you're in that deload, I want you to take it very seriously. I wouldn't be adding on more. If anything, I would just be doing more mobility during that week, even throughout the program. Things like your yoga or Pilates, if it's like at a low intensity. I call them feel-good workouts or feel-good moves that allow the fatigue to settle so you can get ready to go. Because when we're doing this type of strength training, your central nervous system should be a little bit fired up. It's a little bit more heavy on the nervous system. So we'll be ready for that. Now, phase 2 is about execution and intensity. So, the game changes a little bit. If we built a good foundation in phase 1 and we took that seriously, and we should have improved mobility, we should be feeling stronger under these lifts and more control on form. I spent a lot of time in phase 1 about form. Phase 2 is more a mentality to me. So it's you carry over the form, you carry over what you learn in phase 1, but phase 2 is like, now I got to step up my game. Now it's like, I want to get this stuff on lock. I know what good form is. I know when I'm cheating myself, and I gotta flip that switch. I gotta stay locked in. I gotta turn up the heat a little bit. And when I'm doing that, when I'm turning up the intensity, I gotta keep all the other things on lock. I gotta keep control. I don't get out of control to elevate intensity. You stay in the pocket, you stay in your lines, and you bring a little bit more intensity into it. And this is where you bring in that training that we've done in the past, where you built that mental toughness and that ability to push through really tough workouts so that you can find that next gear, man. Because when we get into week 3 in this one, you're going to introduce like some of these drop sets, and you're going to feel a little bit more like we're working towards failure sometimes. So that's where we're going to be working kind of up to there. But the structure is going to be very, very similar, just a little bit more heat on it, But it's all about execution. and pushing through. That's gonna be phase 2. We start to really turn up the heat a little bit. Phase 3 is fun. Man, this is where, like, as a coach, I'm trying to, if anything, phase 1 and 2, I'm trying to like hold y'all back. Because like this is the thing with training, is that people always throttle down and they push so hard that they're kind of giving them they're doing too much sometimes. And like with this type of training, there's the ramp up. So it's like we get to a spot where I'm like, all right, now I want you to unload. Now I want you to unleash, right? Now I want you to go all out on this stuff, but not every day, not all the time. It's detail, and express, go nuts. So phase 3 conjugate is kind of that ramp up too, but it's a little different. Now we're at this spot where I want you guys to get, pushing for more power, getting a little bit more aggressive within the lifts, again, under control with great form. So phase 3 conjugate, on your max effort days, just think about lifting as heavy as you can with the great form that we have been working on. This is going to be pushing your best weight as you go. And when you get into dynamic effort, we're going to scale back the weight percentage wise, and then we're going to get into it. Now, something I want to talk about with dynamic effort day is like when we get into quote unquote speed bench or the speed moves with like deadlift, overhead press, or front squat, those main compounds. I say this in the program, but I'll repeat it here. It is essential. It is incredibly important that your form is absolutely on point during these sequences. We kick off the dynamic effort days where we go into speed, where it's like a 5x5, 15-second rest in between. So I'm going to ask you to do 5 reps of bench with power, as much power as you can express. Rest for 15 seconds and then go again. Rest, go again. Rest, go again. The weight has to be dialed in a way we're able to push those 5 reps. It should not feel like your max effort. It should be closer to about 60% of whatever your max is, so that I'm pushing power through, but I have the control, right? You shouldn't feel like you're struggling through these reps. That's the max effort days. So if you got to make adjustments on this, do it. Also, if you have to make adjustments to your weight to keep form, do it. The most important thing is moving well and then developing speed through those lifts. It's not keep the weight as heavy as I can and move fast. That's not the point of this. Remember, these days complement each other. So I build speed here, then I lift heavy on max effort. And you're going to see these days combine and pair very well throughout that month. Okay. So form is going to be very important also because we're moving for speed. I mean, if we're doing a deadlift faster, but we're losing control, that's not going to be, really the point of anything. And that's why those first 2 months have been so important to build that form so you can express speed and power under control here. It's a really fun way to train. I have a blast with it. And as we do it, you're going to start to see then just your max effort days are going to feel smoother and smoother as you go through this. And then you can just imagine that after this program, anything you do, you should just feel unstoppable by the end of this. The guide that I would use as you go through month 3 for ramping up intensity is more of an RPE scale, because what we're going to do in month 3 is going to be the same exact format that entire month. So those 4 days are going to be the exact same for a month. So we're going to have a chance to get really good at these movements and really good at these sequences. So think of it as an RPE of month 1. I think of like a 7, RPE 7 out of 10 effort, 8, 9, 10, right? Week 4, I'm going all out. And you can even think of week 3, week 4 is like a 9, 10, 8, like somewhere in that wheelhouse. It's going to be like, I'm going for it. Week 1, I'm always like, get familiar, let me move this weight, but I want to understand the sequences. Week 2, feeling a little bit better. I can crank up the intensity. Week 3, 4 should be on autopilot. You should be like, let's rock. Let's just freaking get it and get nuts. So that's the program. That's what you're going into. But there were a couple things that I had in my mind when I was like coaching this, but also just working through this. It's like I wanted to give you guys a framework too to like how to train for decades. I've been getting this question a lot, and I've been thinking a lot about this in my own life. Like, how do I keep, this level of training up where I feel like, where you feel like you're training like at a very high level, at an elite level, at an advanced level. You're able to move incredibly well because I like the challenge. I want to keep challenging myself. I want to know what my body's capable of. At the same time, I want to do it efficiently. I'm much more aware of like the time that I'm putting into this stuff. Like I'm not trying to be at the gym for 2-3 hours. If you got the time, if you're training, like, yo, hats off to you, like go do your thing. But like, honestly, I'm trying to get these sessions in within 60 minutes. I'm trying to like be more intentional with how I'm moving, but I also still want to get exceptional results. I want to keep challenging and I want to keep growing. The other thing too is I want to keep my energy high. So beating myself down on these workouts doesn't really get it done, for me in my life anymore, right? I'm not trying to just recover all the time. I want to keep this stuff in a wheelhouse where I can recover well and still progress, right? So there's like a sweet spot, within that. And then how do I do it for a long time is another factor that we got. And, what does that really look like? And so when I was thinking about this training, that's really what this came down to. Was how do we create a format to do all that? And that's the template that I want you to take away, is that we're not just going for PRs every week, but think about your training now as these buildups. Because even when I'm doing whatever structure that I'm doing, like in my head, when I do a 4-week program, when I'm going through stuff, I'm thinking that RPE scale, 6, 7, and then I'm like ramping up. Week 1, 6, 7, week 2, 7, 8. 8, 9, 9, 10, scale. And then it's deload, scale back. It's always this. So ramp up intensity, scale it back to reduce fatigue, ramp up intensity, scale back to reduce fatigue. It's a simple formula when you think about it like that. And then you can really build and get yourself where you want to go. I mean, we can build these programs to develop any skill. The other thing is with just getting older, just the idea of aging, I'm thinking about that. I'm like, what does that structure look like? And we talk so much about building muscle as we age and the importance, like the industry's done a great job of talking about the importance of building muscle and keeping and preserving muscle as we age. And it's incredibly true, right? We know this. We got to do that. We lose muscle as we age if we don't do anything to counteract it. And so we need to preserve it. But what's also true is that we can lose strength. You can lose mobility, you can lose explosiveness, you can lose power as you age. So I'm always observing people and as they get older, they do lose, they lose a pop. They get a little bit tighter in their movements. They feel a little bit restrictive, feel like strength is going down. And I think the common way to frame that is, well, I'm getting older, so I can't do the same things that I used to do. And maybe, we're all getting older. There's an age component, but why can't we do certain things to combat it? And if we're in a mindset of combating, well, then why wouldn't I find a way to elevate? I mean, I'm just looking at it like, I don't want to do just the minimum of combating. Like that to me is like just the floor, right? I'm going to maintain muscle. I want to maintain power. I want to maintain some movement quality. I'm going to lift a certain amount to create a minimum so that I feel okay. But I'm like, if we're going to put the time in, then why wouldn't I just raise up the temperature a little bit to where I'm not just maintaining muscle, maintaining power? Why don't we create it? Why don't we create power, create more muscle, create more strength, and improve upon it? Because I don't need to just improve upon it within a month. You have decades. So I'm just kind of putting out there the perspective of don't just look at your training as what I'm doing this month. When I'm doing these 3 months, I'm going to get better for these 3 months. No. I got 10 years to get better at this. So if I'm bad at a Copenhagen today, well, buckle up because I got decades to improve it. So I know damn well that if I just stay with this and if I train smart by scaling down weight, by refining the details and then ramping it back up so that when I ramp up, I have more control to drive more intensity. Well, you can't tell me that you're not going to be improving in 10, 20, 30 years. So you got time. So like, there's this balance that I think you got to find too, of like this balance of some patience with some urgency. When you're in the work, be urgent, it matters. Like every detail matters, and have a heightened awareness around it and be like, I'm going to put my all into what I am doing, but recognize that putting your all into something doesn't mean that you're just going buck wild and break it up intensity. Like that, my baseball coach used I'm not going to say it. Never mind. My baseball coach used to say some funny stuff about that. He was like, you're running around like a puppy with a heart on. And it's like, I'm like, all right, dude, you're just running around like a crazy person. Like just scale back, have some, method behind the madness. And then have some patience too, that when you're done with the session, you can also say to yourself like, hey, maybe it wasn't perfect today. It's all good, or I'm not great at that yet, but I got 10, 20, 30 years to really develop this. So with that mindset, man, you can do whatever you want. And you can train at this really high level. So that's kind of where I'll leave you here, man, is, think about training more as a skill development in this one, that you're not just trying to get through a workout. Think about how to refine a skill. See training as a mirror. When you're doing this stuff, as we talk about human development on this front, how you approach these things and how you're speaking to yourself and the frustration that you might, experience in certain ways or whatever you experience is a mirror. And so take note, just reflect, something that I like to do when I'm training too is like, I have this thing where I'm trying to just be, like when I'm training by myself, I'm trying to be a little bit like calmer in difficult situations. Right. So like if you're frustrated with something, you're like, man, I'm not good at that. Do you beat yourself up, or can you just breathe and just be like, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this. Cause like I'm trying to coach you all up in a way that we develop a grounded level of confidence, which means to me, you've been through it. You have receipts. You've done the work. You have a humility about what you've done because you know the difficulty, what it takes. The commitment that it takes, it's not easy, you've had to overcome, and you've done it, and you've done it so many times that it's unshakable. That's really the goal with all of this, in my opinion. So go attack this, trust the process as you go through it. I'm very excited for you guys to get after it. Document your journey as you go and support each other within this community as you do it. We need each other, man. I've said this to you in classes before, but I will say it again. I have had so many people in my life and in my career that have helped me to get to a spot of where I'm at, to have even a knowledge and an understanding of training. I've been around some of the best professional athletes in the world, some of the best coaches in the world, especially in New York, and I've learned from all of them. And it is time for us to wrap our arms around our community, man, and lift each other up. You're not going to do it by yourself. You're going to have down moments. Other people are going to have down moments. They got to be there for you, and you got to be there for them. And we're all going to be better because of it. So as you're going through this journey, stay committed. Know that you're going to get through this. You're going to be better because of it. We're going to be stronger. We're going to be more resilient. We're going to be more confident. Man, it's going to be a beautiful thing to see. So I'll leave you guys with that, man. I'll see you on the other side. I will obviously be with you every step of the way as we're doing this program. Could not be more excited. And with the podcast, keep tuning in. We're going to be building upon this season and talking a little bit more about the philosophy behind the training, talking about, some methods, some new guests, talking about leadership, and just being a badass human being, man. So until next time, my friends, I'll see y'all out there.